All right, so page 139 in the Roots of Consciousness. Of the speech of spirits and angels. The discourse or speech of spirits conversing with me was heard and perceived as distinctly by me as the discourse or speech of men. Nay, when I have discoursed with them whilst I was also in company with men, I also observed that as I heard the sound of man's voice in discourse, so I heard also the sound of the voice of spirits, each alike sonorous, insomuch as the spirit sometimes wondered that the discourse with me was not heard by others, for, in respect to hearing, that there was no difference at all between the voices of men and spirits. But as the influx to the internal organs of hearing is different from the influx of man's voice into the external organs, the discourse of the spirits was heard by none but myself, whose internal organs, by the divine mercy of the Lord, were open. Human speech or discourse is conveyed through the ear, by an external way, by the medium of air, whereas the speech or discourse of spirits does not enter through the ear, nor by the medium of the air, but by an internal way, yet into the same organs of the head or brain. Hence, the hearing in both cases is alike. The words which spirits utter, that is, which they excite or call forth out of man's memory, and imagine to be their own, are well chosen and clear, full of meaning, distinctly pronounced, and applicable for the spoken or for the subject spoken of. And what is surprising, they know how to choose expressions much better and more readily than the man himself. Nay, as was shown above, they are acquainted with the various significations of words, which they appear instantaneously without premeditation by reason, as just observed, that the ideas of their language flow only into their expressions, which are best adapted to signify their meaning. The case in this respect is like that of a man who speaks without thinking, and all about his words, but is intent only on their sense, when his thought falls readily and spontaneously into the proper expressions. It is the sense inwardly intended that calls forth words. In such inward sense, but of still more subtle and excellent nature, consists of speech of spirits, and by that which man, although he is ignorant of it, has communication with them. The speech of words, just intimated, is the speech proper to man, and indeed to his contemporary memory, but the speech consisting of ideas of thought is the speech proper to the spirits, and indeed into the interior memory, which is the memory of spirits. It is not known to men that they possess this interior memory, because the memory of particular or material things, which is corporal, is accounted everything. The darkness that darkens that which is interior, which, nevertheless, without interior memory, which is proper to the spirit man, would not be able to think at all. From the internal memory, I have frequently discoursed with spirits, thus, in the proper tongue, that is, by ideas of thought. How universal and copious this language is may appear from the consideration that every single expression contains an idea of great extent. For it is well known that one idea of word may require many words to explain it, much more than an idea of one thing. So we're getting a symbolism. And still more the idea of several things, which may be collected. That's why the subconscious recognizes symbols. That's why they put symbols in everything. So even if you're slower thinking or consciousness, ego part of you doesn't recognize it and thinks you're looking at just a normal advertisement of a bathing suit or nail polish or a car or whatever, there's usually some kind of subliminal pictures or visuals in them so that the real message gets through. They're counting on you not paying attention. Remember that. Look up symbolism and like advertising and stuff. All right, so I got totally off track. I didn't think it was this long, to be honest with you. All right, so let's see. Okay, it is tempting to think that Swedenborg went insane at this point. However, he otherwise showed no signs of mental weakness. He continued to serve as a mining assessor, for instance, throughout his life. Yet, during this 27-year period, he wrote some 282 works in the above manner, describing his inner explorations. When asked how he could write so much, he casually answered that it was because an angel dictated it to him. Numbers of people witnessed him speaking with invisible figures, yet he could always be interrupted in the midst of these states to deal with a visitor or a business matter. He described the world to which we all go to after death like a number of different spheres, representing various shades of light and happiness, each soul going to that which is for his spiritual evolution has fitted him. The light of the higher states seems painful and blinding to those who are not yet ready. These spheres resembled the earthly society that Swedenborg knew. His descriptions of life in the spheres are written with the careful mind of a scientist. He speaks of the architecture, the flowers, the fruits, the science, the schools, the museums, the libraries, and the sports. Oh, I think I'm going to be looking into this. That's cool. I'm going to be reading about him. Okay. The great German philosopher Emmanuel Kant, 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 set to examine the Swedenborg phenomena and aim towards discrediting them. However, Kant was at a loss to explain the well-reported incident in 1756, when Swedenborg, then in Gothenburg, clairvoyantly saw a fire raging 300 miles away in Stockholm. This incident occurred in front of 15 very distinguished observers. Due to the voluminous quality of his Inuit writings, Swedenborg's popularity had not been large among the general population. Often, his spiritual visions do seem to disgenerate or arbitrarily theological interpretations of Scripture. After his death, the Church of New Jerusalem was founded to preserve his teachings, which can be found in the Encyclopedic Heaven and Hell, the New Jerusalem, and the Arcania Coelestia, as well as several excellent biographies. Swedenborg's thought was to exert a particular influence on two of Europe's great artistic geniuses, William Blake from 1757 to 1827, and Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, 1749 to 1832. So I guess I skipped into it. We were speaking about Emmanuel Swedenborg. The single individual who combined with himself the most intense spiritualistic exploration with the most sophisticated scientific expertise, was born the son of a devout Swedish bishop. He was the son of a preacher man. Daddy and he come along. When they gather around, start talking. That's when Billy will take me walking. Through the backyard we go. Sorry. Being the eldest son, Baron Emmanuel, imagine that, your name is Baron Emmanuel Swedenborg, took a position in the Swedish House of Nobles. So he did a lot of scientific papers. He mastered 9 languages. He was an inventor and a craftsman. He built his own telescope. He built his own microscope. He made a design for a submarine, air pumps, musical instruments, a glider, mining equipment, not like mining equipment. Throughout his life, he worked as a mining assessor in Sweden. He participated in engineering the world's largest dry dock and he developed an ear trumpet, a fire extinguisher, and a steel rolling mill. He learned bookbinding, watchmaking, engraving, marble inlay, and other trades. Good for you. I like that man of all trades in you. All right. He did military projects, small battleships. Oh my, you did a lot. Good for you. Too bad more people don't know about you. Maybe now they will. All right. He began surveying all that could be understood by scholars in psychology and published like several volumes of observations. He started writing down his interpretations of his own dreams. He developed yoga-like practices of suspended his breathing and drawing his attention inward, thus enabling him to observe the subtle symbol-making processes of the mind. He carefully probed the hypnagogic state, the borderland between sleep and waking, in which the mind forms its most fantastic imagery. Then he gradually began to sense the presence of other beings within his own state. Such a sensation is common to the hypnagogic state. However, for Swedenborg, these occasional glimpses into another world came into full fruition quite suddenly in April of 1744. From that time until his death, 27 years later, he claimed to be in constant touch with spirits. He regularly probed the vast reigns of heaven and hell and engaged in long, detailed conversations with angels and spirits. And then we skipped the point, so I started at the end and then I went backwards. I told you I just opened up to a page, so I opened up to the middle apparently. So that's pretty cool.